Picture this. Someone shows you a photo from 1965. A family in a spotless kitchen, mom in a crisp dress, dad loosening his tie after work, kids laughing over dinner. Your brain probably does something automatic here. It files that image under how things used to be. Simple, wholesome, a world we lost. But here's the question that should stop you cold. Whose 1965 was that exactly? Because for every kitchen like that, there was another house a few miles away or a few hundred miles away, where the lights sometimes got shut off, where a father worked 2 jobs and still couldn't cover rent, where a kid went to school hungry and nobody wrote a song about it. 2 families, same year, same country, living in what might as well have been 2 different centuries. And the wild part isn't that this divide existed. Divides always exist. The wild part is how thoroughly one version of that decade won the battle for our collective memory, while the other quietly vanished. Let me show you why your brain does this, because it's not an accident, and it's not really about the 1960s at all. It's about how memory works. There's a concept in psychology called the availability heuristic, the tendency to judge how common or true something is based on how easily examples come to mind. And nothing comes to mind more easily than a television commercial. Think about it. The 1960s were the golden age of American advertising and broadcast television. And advertising, by design, only ever shows you the version of life it wants you to buy into. Nobody ran a 30-second spot for a coal miner's family struggling through a strike in Appalachia. Nobody sold refrigerators using footage of a black family navigating redlining in Chicago. The camera pointed again and again at the same gleaming kitchen, the same content smile, the same illusion of universal prosperity. And because that image got repeated thousands of years, it became, quite literally, the most available memory. Not the most common experience, just the most repeated one.
This is where it gets interesting, though, because repetition doesn't just shape what we remember, it shapes what we believe was true. Psychologists call this the illusory truth effect. The more often you're exposed to a claim, even a claim nobody ever actually stated outright, the more your brain quietly tags it as fact. So decades later, when someone says, the 60s were a simpler, more prosperous time, you don't reflexively ask, prosperous for whom? You just feel the warmth of the image, because you've seen that image 10,000 times, and you've almost never seen its opposite. And that's the first hidden reality. The class divide wasn't just economic, it was a divide in visibility. If you were poor in 1965, you weren't just struggling financially, you were being erased from the story in real time. Now, here's the part that might genuinely surprise you. Studies on collective memory, how entire societies remember shared history, show something almost paradoxical. The groups with less power in a given era often have clearer, more accurate memories of the hardships of that time, while the groups with more power tend to remember the era more fondly and more vaguely. It's not because anyone is lying, it's because comfort doesn't demand precision. If your life was mostly fine, you don't need to catalog every economic detail, you just remember feeling good. But if your life was a daily negotiation with scarcity, you remember the price of milk, you remember which relative could lend money that month, you remember exactly how it felt to watch your parents pretend everything was okay. Struggle sharpens memory, comfort softens it into a mood.
So when we talk about the 60s as a culture, we're often unconsciously channeling the soft, comfortable memory of the people who had the least reason to remember hard details and calling that history. There's something almost tender in recognizing this, though, isn't there? Because it means the discomfort you might feel learning this, that, oof, wait, that wasn't the whole picture, isn't a flaw in you. It's actually your brain doing something remarkable, updating a narrative it was handed secondhand and choosing accuracy over comfort. That takes a kind of psychological courage most people never bother to exercise. Most people would rather keep the warm, blurry photo than trade it in for the sharper, messier truth. And maybe that's the real lesson buried in the two Americas of the 1960s. Not a history lesson, but a mirror. Because right now, today, there are two versions of your own life running in parallel. The one you present and the one you actually live. The curated kitchen and the real one. And every one of us is tempted constantly to let the polished version become the official memory, while the harder, truer parts quietly get edited out of the story we tell about ourselves. So here's what I'd leave you with. The next time nostalgia hits you, for a decade, a childhood, even last year, pause for 1 second and ask, whose memory am I actually holding right now? Is this mine, or is this the one that got repeated the most? If this made you see an old photograph a little differently, I'd genuinely love to hear which two America's moments stuck with you most. Drop it in the comments. And if your brain likes untangling stories like this one, stick around because we're just getting started.